The Supreme Court of Appeal dismissed the appeal by the opposition to Urban Tolling Alliance to its e-toll challenge against the South African National Road Agency. Wayne Duvenage, a gentleman I grew up with, is the chairperson of OUTA, and unfortunately not in studio today. But Wayne, I guess it's not kind of the day that you'd like to remember.
No, Alec, I think we're a little bit disappointed. We're actually very relieved with the cost order being overturned. Remember, Judge Louis Foster slapped us with government's costs as well in December. It was one of the main reasons, not the only one, that we had to appeal. We've got that overturned, so that's a relief. On the judgment itself, we're going to be unpacking that this afternoon or right now, and preparing our press statement, which we will read out tomorrow and answer questions at a press conference at 11 o'clock.
Great. Wayne, I was just looking through your website in preparation for this discussion, and certainly the arguments you make are cogent. It also has in big red letters that you still need 1.3 million to meet your legal costs. What's the where are you likely to get that from?
Well, it's going to be a challenge now that with this ruling. We'll work hard at it. Remember, we've raised 90% of these funds. Obviously, we'll be turning to our lawyers to go lightly on that, and I think they will. We've got a number of members, so we'll be discussing that at a board meeting we'll be holding on Monday, where we're also unpacking and discussing the way forward.
And the support from the Catholic Church?
Huge, Alec. You know, and it's not just them, it's the evangelical churches, it's Anglicans. I think the SACC are now coming on board. And they're making very pronounced and profound statements around, you know, not even getting a tag, but not paying those bills, because this bill, this law, this policy is just so unjust and so unwarranted in this context. Government
hasn't budged at all. They are still maintaining clearly that this is something that taxpayers or people in Gauteng must pay. One of the big arguments that I had given to me was, why don't you focus on the alleged corruption that is involved here? And if that could be uncovered, perhaps it would shift the attention.
Well, all I can say is we had to exercise a legal challenge. The corruption challenges, those are being looked into by other entities. We know that. A lot of information has been bandied about there, so that's another matter. I mean, I can tell you now that e-tolling situation is not over by a long way. Civil society in its many forms will be taking this matter further. But the road for OUTA, we'll decide on Monday as to where do we go to from here. People are asking that it remains in place as a platform to engage with society on the many issues that are still coming, and we might do that. It might be reconstituted with a new board. We'll decide on that later.
Bernie Crone, the chief executive of Esau Frankie, was in studio a little earlier. That's a construction company, Wayne, and as he left, he said, well, if you guys don't want to have the toll roads, why don't you just block off 2 lanes of traffic? You know, it was a little sarcastic, I guess, but from the construction industry, that's his approach. Are you getting much of that, much skepticism?
You know, those comments don't even warrant reactions, and I'll tell you why. We are not saying don't build roads. You know, we're not even saying that society shouldn't pay for its roads. We have built highways around our cities for decades without tolling them. What has happened here is SANRAL have come along with the most elaborate plan, slapped 45 gantries on here into this environment, which is a very tough one to place such an onerous administrative process on. And it's going to cost us billions of rands before we pay for the road itself. And we've put forward the many alternatives which are far more efficient. They just refuse to listen to those. So I guess it's going to be over to the People's Court to decide whether this is going to be manageable or not. So we're not saying don't build roads, and we're not saying we don't want to pay for them. It's just this ludicrous way which enriches CUP's Trafficom by 670 million rand a year, and that's been stated by them on a public platform to investors in June this year. That is ludicrous. That is a waste of taxpayers' money.